My name is Linda Sanford. I'm a retired, or some people say recycled, Peralta administrator. So I'm back. Today I'm going to talk about one of our shared agreements. One of the things that Dr. Pruitt mentioned is essential for having a functioning, efficient organization is to have shared agreements. And this is one that we do really, really well. It's our participatory governance structure in which we all come together and make decisions about planning, budgeting, and resource allocation. It's called our Planning and Budgeting Integration Model, or PBIM. So background. This was first implemented in 2009. So that's now 5 years ago. We're going into our nearly 6th cycle. It's a participatory governance structure in which we look at district-wide operational planning every year. Unfortunately, we needed a little nudge to make this happen. We developed this in response to an accreditation recommendation. The good thing, though, is that it integrates planning, budgeting, and resource allocation across our very complex district. So all 4 colleges in the district office come together, and we provide a clear process for decision-making. And this supports a culture of collaboration. Again, a point that Dr. Pruitt made, something essential. Additionally, it supports the district's mission, strategic goals, and institutional objectives. Now, how can I make a statement that says this is something we are doing really well? Because we evaluate it every year. At the end of the academic year, we do a self-assessment, put out by SurveyMonkey, also do individual interviews, and those evaluation results inform process improvements. And this is a big year of change for this district. We are implementing improvements in this model as well as in other areas of planning. So again, what is the big picture? Dr. Pruitt talked about big picture. What is our big picture for participatory governance and decision-making? It's this structure. It all begins at the colleges, where individual colleges go through their internal planning processes and arrive at some decisions and make priorities. Those are then brought together at the district level in subcommittees focused on particular areas. We have technology with the District Technology Committee, and we like to have our little abbreviations in this district, the DTC. We have facilities with the DFC, education with the DEC, and those 3 subcommittees then review information, requests, provide feedback to the colleges, and or make recommendations to the Planning and Budgeting Council, PBC. So far we've got PBIM, PBC, DEC, DTC, and DFC. What are the operating principles? Again, something that Dr. Pruitt highlighted. These are agreements we have already made, that we will maintain a district-wide perspective, that we will always seek collaborative solutions. So what are our operating principles? That we will have effective meetings, an integrated planning and budgeting calendar, ongoing two-way communication, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, what kinds of recommendations come forward? Things based on program review, annual unit updates, or what do we call them? Annual program updates. Things related to our strategic goals and institutional objectives, et cetera, et cetera. What is the focus? The primary focus is decision-making and making resource priorities. We also look at policies and procedures in the Planning and Budgeting Council and integrating planning and budgeting. The Planning and Budgeting Council also provides oversight for the strategic plan and makes all final recommendations to the chancellor. Okay. And I did have slides that talked about compositions of committees, but I'm just going to wing it right now. Every committee has a chair who is a district administrator. Every committee has a faculty co-chair elected each year by the committee membership. Every committee has a facilitator who is a non-voting member that is the process manager for the committee. Runs the meeting, assists the chair, develops agendas, distributes meeting minutes, et cetera, et cetera. There's a recorder and a note taker. Okay. This is participatory governance structure, so on all committees, there are representatives from the representative units. This year, we're making some changes, and the biggest changes are to the committee compositions. Previously, we had a college president on each committee. This year, all 4 college presidents will be on the Planning and Budgeting Council. We looked at the composition of the committees and have added additional members. In most cases, they're either faculty, classified, or students. Additionally, we're going to, this year, model a full cycle of assessment within each committee. So each committee will set goals that are mapped to our strategic plans and objectives, and at the end of the academic year, assess whether they met those goals. That's new. We're also this year going to link this model, our annual planning and budgeting integration model, to the other aspects of planning, which are strategic planning on a 6-year cycle, and program review, which is on a 3-year cycle. All of this will demonstrate continuous quality improvement because these are models that were developed during the last accreditation cycle. Now we're reviewing and updating all of them and integrating them both across the committees and over time. So, in summary, without a slide, we have 3 cycles of planning in this district. We have our strategic planning cycle, and this year we're updating our strategic plan, reviewing our goals, and setting new institutional objectives. That's on a 6-year cycle. We're going to integrate those updated goals and institutional objectives into our program review, which is on a 3-year cycle. Next year will be the first year that we implement the newly formatted program review. And then thirdly, with our annual planning cycle, which is the PBIM model. What questions do you have? Yes. Dr. Gravenberg.
You might want to just emphasize that the meetings are open to the general public, to know that the committee members have voting rights, so the president or someone else wants to sit in on the meetings they could.
Correct. Did everybody hear that? Okay, the meetings are open to everyone. There is a meeting every single Friday mornings at the district office. We have a set meeting schedule. Fridays, in most cases, from 9 to 12. The Planning and Budgeting Council meets the last Friday of every month. Committee membership is defined, and we do have a unique configuration during the meetings, I should mention that, where the committee members sit at the inner table, visitors and guests are on the outside or the periphery. So the composition of the committees is quite large because we are a 4-college district. The smallest committee has 18 members. The largest has 34. Appointments are for 1 year or by position. Yes.
What was taken into consideration in making up the makeup of these committees? Because with certain committees, such as the facilities, there is no classified representation.
What was the way this developed was back in 2009, the then chancellor convened a work group, brought together a work group that worked on determining the composition of the committees over a period of a semester. And in the case of the technical committees, for example, facilities, it was determined then what the core composition would be. Of course, chaired by DGS Vice Chancellor. Over the years, we have every year done self-evaluations and asked for feedback on the composition of these committees, and they have changed slightly over the years. So I think we're open to making additional changes if your position is that there should be more classified representation, then certainly provide that in the commentary. And then it will be reviewed and perhaps acted on. I can't think of any recommendation that wasn't taken seriously. And that's certainly something that we can consider. Now, when you talk about a constituent group, then you also have to talk about who makes the appointment for that group. So with classified, it's really dependent upon whether it's a district-wide appointment. In that case, it's the classified senate. If it's an instance of where there's a classified representative from each campus, then it's the campus classified senate president who makes the appointment. But that's a good point. Other questions?
Here, I have a...
Yes, Mark.
Yes, so I understand that the number of students on the committees will be increasing this year.
Correct.
Hello, here's a mic for you.
So the question was, or a comment was, he has an understanding that the number of students on each committee is increasing this year. Yes.
How many?
2. We are requesting that 2 appointments for each committee be made. And Dr. Belinsky and I met with the student life directors asking their assistance. They must be elected representatives. These are student government representatives. And we're still waiting for those appointments. That's a good thing. It's hard for students, though, because the meeting schedule is set. Other questions or comments?
Here's a mic for you.
Thank you. Linda, have you mentioned the PBC Summit, the date?
No, I have not. Every year we start the process with a kickoff summit. This year the summit is August 29th, but that is by invitation only. And it is for committee members. If you want a more complete explanation, I'm happy to come to your campus and I will find the PowerPoint presentation that has 24 slides instead of 7. I don't know what happened there. I would be happy to do that. Or I could also just do another meet and greet where you come and learn more about the process. But we are going into almost our 6th year using this. Now, I'm also working on accreditation district-wide, writing the reports for the district components. And this is one of the things we're highlighting throughout the accreditation self-evaluation report. Again, this is something we can celebrate. This is something that we actually do well. That we worked on it, we've refined it, it's working, it's happening, we're making decisions based on information flowing through these committees. It's transparent, it's participatory, it's a model that could be used throughout the state.
Linda,
Yes.
my colleague who asked the question about classified representation on Facilities Committee, I was thinking as I was listening to you that couldn't be true because every committee had representation
Yes.
from every constituent. And so I looked at the membership for 2013-14,
Yeah.
and it does have, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
classified representatives on the Facilities Committee. No,
No.
they're members of the committee. 4.
Yes.
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 They're by position.
And the information about all of the committee membership is online in the Planning and Budgeting Integration Model website, so you can find it there.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Van Putten. Jim?
Linda, I have a question. Each of the colleges have their own shared governance committees. And then what is the procedure for information or opinions that get generated on those committees or information they want to get to the district? How does it flow from the college to the district?
Very good question. So I'll start with the service area committees, the technology committee, the facilities committee, the education committee. They all are focused on that particular area. I'm assuming that your campuses have a similar structure with a technology committee, a facilities committee,
Correct.
education and/or planning committee. And those representatives would be the representatives, I would assume, who are appointed to the district committees. So there's a seamless flow of information from the campus to the committee and back again. If you'll notice, or maybe did notice, on the graphic, the arrows are two-way. So the members of the committees are responsible for reporting back to their campuses and vice versa. So that would be the process flow of information.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It answers the question. I'm on the facilities committee, and we're always kind of confused as, I mean, there are members that are on that committee or people that come
Right.
to the facilities committee that sit on the district-wide committee. So we do get that information from the district back, and then I'm assuming that those members that sit on both committees get the information from our committee back to the district. Sometimes it feels like it's not happening in the seamless way that you suggested.
So that isn't about the structure so much, as about maybe the individuals?
Well, I think it might be a good thing for our committees to kind of reinforce how this flow of information back and forth is supposed to happen.
Right.
So I think that might be something that we should look at at least at Laney, to make sure that flow is happening properly.
Okay, and I'm also going to point out that there is a district-wide website that contains all of the information about these committees, including agendas, meeting minutes, documents, etc. So all the information is open and transparent and available to everyone. Of course, you have to have the right PowerPoint in order to put it on the website, and we'll take care of that. Okay, other questions? Come to a meeting. They're on Friday mornings in the district boardroom. Any one Friday morning, you're going to be encountering one of these decision-making committees. And let me qualify what decision-making means. Decision-making in terms of making a recommendation to the chancellor. Okay. Okay, I cleared out the room. I brought the wrong PowerPoint. What else can I do wrong?
Thank you. Our last speaker is Calvin Matlock. He is the Associate Vice Chancellor of Information Technology at our district. And we'll go ahead and have Calvin start. I think we have the right PowerPoint.
Good morning and welcome back. I am competing against lunch, and I'm 10 minutes behind, so you know what that means? I won't be here long. My name is Calvin Matlock, and I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Information Technology here at Peralta. And I represent a team of technology professionals, and we are responsible for the safety, the security, the privacy, and the integrity of data and information for faculty, staff, and thousands of students. We also are responsible for the operations and maintenance of computer systems and network and telephone, and also computer applications, and we also service 4 major business units that we'll be talking about a little bit today. One being Ed Services, that's including admissions and records, that's including financial aid. The second one is Finance and Administration, which includes payroll, accounts payable, student financials, and more. The third is General Services, which you know that's the facilities. And the fourth is Human Resources, which includes benefits. In addition, we're responsible for the oversight of campus technology. And so as I often walk to the campuses, I get a chance to experience students. Sometime being at the district office, you don't see that interaction as much. So yesterday I was at Laney, at the Laney Tower, and I was on my way to the 6th floor to meet technology representatives from Laney, and a student was standing outside the elevator waiting to go up along with me. He happened to be an African-American student. But what was really striking about this student, he had a sleeveless shirt on, and he was so tall, he met me eye to eye. And so he caught my attention because he was beginning to talk to himself. And as he talked to himself, we both walked in the elevator, and I became his audience. Now, you know, in the elevator, you don't have very long. So he told me that, I have 12 more units to go, and I'll graduate from college. And I was, wow, that's good. He said, yeah, but I can't read. And by the time I said, you can't read, he said, yeah, I'm on my way to counseling on the 3rd floor, and I need to get some help and read. I've been winging it. And as I began to say, well, good luck, brother, and the elevator just closed. And it made me think about that person. I didn't get his name, so just for sake of conversation, let's call him Junior. And so Junior told me this story, and Junior walked off the elevator, and I just realized, it dawned on me that faculty and counselors, you hold in your hands the fragile and malleable minds of students. And it reminded me when I was a faculty member at Southwest College and West Los Angeles College in Los Angeles. And I feel that being a faculty member, I understand some of the needs and challenges that you have in the classroom. And I'm going to talk about some of those challenges today. One is, when I go to a classroom, I want to be able to access that classroom, get into the classroom. The second thing I'm concerned about is the environmental factors in the classroom, and just heating and cooling and things of that nature. And the third thing is the technology. And so the technology is what we're going to talk about today. In technology, we're talking about you want access to your rosters. You should be able to print your rosters. You should be able to enter your grades. You should be able to drop students. You should be able to do all those type of things. And you should also have classroom technology. And you shouldn't be probably walking around campus with bent over, pushing a cart to every classroom. We would like to see all classrooms with smart technology. And so let's talk about a little bit about that. But first of all, I want you to understand the meaning of technology. When we say technology from information technology standpoint, we define this in the District Technology Committee. And if you're familiar with them, you may be familiar with your Campus Technology Committee, but all this information streamed down from the technology committees on your campuses, and then it comes to the District Technology Committee, which is the shared governance of constituents from all the campuses, and we can make sure we address some of the issues that you're concerned with or some of the issues that should be addressed. So the technology, what is technology? Okay, I'm gonna read this, and I'll be sending this out later. So technology is any device that is intended to connect to the network and for which staff is required to install, maintain, and operate said devices as it applies to the use of computer and/or telecommunication equipment in order to retrieve, store, transmit, process, maintain, or manipulate data. Basically, to put it encapsulated, basically, is your desktop, your smart classroom technology. But this was the definition that we came up at the DCC to make sure that we're covering all your technology needs and making sure there's no confusion when we talk about technology. What technology are you using to access Faculty Center? At Peralta, we use a product called PeopleSoft. You may have heard of it on a different name. Most of you use it interchangeably. You may say Prompt. Some people use Passport. But whatever it is, PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft is a highly integrated suite of applications that we use to solve problems, as in payroll, finance, human resources accounting, and campus solution, and all these products that we use. So we're using the product called PeopleSoft. We are among 9 other colleges in the state of California that are using PeopleSoft. And I'll tell you about something creative we've done that no other college have done. My team and I have set a goal and a vision, as they was speaking before, is to become the premier information technology in the state of California. And as I went to a consortium weeks ago, I think we're on our way. So the status of technology here at Peralta, I would say, is healthy. Yes. We are. Yes. Thank you. And you know, in order to be a good leader, I was told that I would have to be a good follower. So I'll do the same thing that the chancellor do. I just wasn't as smooth as he was, but you know, I'm a little taller, so I'm a little goofier. Anyway, the functional versus technical. You know, when we talk about functional, these are the people that work directly with the end users. And they work with technology people. So they're out there on the field. They're the A&Rs, they're the front line. They're working directly with the customer. And we kind of work in the background indirectly. So we work with these people functional. And then the technical people are the people that do most of the programming. They're in the closets and doing all the kind of computer work that needs to be done. So I want that definition to be clear when we talk about functional versus technology. So we have a technology department with so many staff, and then you have the business units that I talked about earlier. And many of these people, staff in those groups are functionals. And we work collaboratively together in order to achieve our results. Maintenance and projects. Maintenance is something that we do on an ongoing basis where we maintain our existing system. And there are changes. For example, we'll talk about some of the changes that happen with the grade rosters when you turn in your grades. I think now you receive an email, and I think that was one of the demands. But I think now you want a pop-up, so we'll work with that. We'll talk a little more about that later. Versus a project has a beginning and an end. It's not ongoing operation. Project starts and then it ends, and it merges over into maintenance at that point. And our department is set up that way, so we maintain and we implement new projects. And then a very important thing I wanted to explain to you about spam and what it is. And spam creates spoofing, and spoofing creates phishing, and then there's spear phishing, and then there's worms and Trojan horses, and then there's adware, spyware. All these type of things we are trying to protect the integrity, the privacy, the security of the data on a day-to-day basis. We get hit thousands of times per day. So when you see the email system go down, we've probably been hit. Let me give you an example. Spam is unwanted email. It's unwanted electronic mail. It's just like in your mail when you get all those flyers, you don't want them, you throw them straight to the trash. Same thing on electronically. That's what happened with spam. And let me make this clear. The IT department will never ask for your user ID and or your password. We know it. So if you get a message from the help desk, it's not us asking for your user ID and password. Someone told me, don't say don't. I would encourage you not to enter your user ID and password. Because if you do, what happens is that person now have access to the system. Now they're in. And what they do, they come in and they do something called, because they've been phishing, so now they got a bite. So they do something called spoofing. And spoofing is they make themselves appear as if you sending a message out. And so you sending all these, now they send it out to, 1,000 people? And it floods our email and then it locks everything up. And so that's called spoofing. So they're pretending to be you. And you get a message from someone, you're like, oh, they sent me a message. You think it's safe but usually if you're concerned about it, and and many of you do, just send it over to the help desk or ask someone about it before you act on it. And if someone is in Russia or Africa and said they don't have any money and they need you to send them some money, and it comes from a familiar looking person, you're like, oh man, I got to send them some money. I would encourage you to talk to me before you send them that money. We can use that money to develop in technology, right, Chancellor? But I want you to just know some of those things, and what I'm really afraid of as a Chief Information Technology Officer is the spear phishing. So spear phishing will target a specific department, preferably IT, because what they want to do is once they can get an email address of a person in IT, they can then hack into our system. And you may have heard of what happened to the University, I think Riverside Community College. Some of you may have heard of, they got hacked. And a lot of other colleges have gotten hacked also. Haven't been hacked in the 2 years I've been here, but they got hacked. And the reason they got hacked for over 35,000 students were impacted, students and our faculty members. And the way they got hacked was someone was using a personal email account. They wasn't using their district email account. They were using the personal email account because there was so much data, they couldn't transfer the file. So it was too large of a file to transfer. So they sent that file to another person's email account. However, they sent it to the wrong account. And when they did that, they exposed 35,000 students. And as a result, what we're going to be doing something, the California Community College information, I think, called Security Awareness. Is free training to make you aware of some of these things. So I'm just trying to brief you on this. But the spear phishing is one that directly target us, and we want to avoid that. So I hope that gives you some insight. And I got about 5 minutes left, so in closing, when you hear things of bundles and patches, we are now trying to maintain and upgrade our technology. You've got mail that comes out. What we're doing is patching our system to keep us from being vulnerable to attacks by hackers and people of that nature. So that's what we have to do. It's kind of a nuisance sometimes to you to see that the system goes down, but we have to maintain as we continue to progress in upgrading our system. We got hurt a few years ago by the budgetary things that were happening within the district, well, all over the state of California. And what happened is we kind of deferred maintenance a little bit, so now we're kind of catching up with some of the systems that need to be upgraded. So bear with us as we upgrade our computer systems. It's not just an easy task, and the staff are working hard with all the business units to do that. And academic advising, we are in the process of implementing an academic advising module and a student educational planner. So now the students will be able to take a snapshot of the academic progress at any given point online in real time. And they also will have a student educational planner in hand. So we're working with A&R staff on that to make sure that it's done by December of 2014. CCC Apply, that everyone knows that's the California Community College admissions application that everyone uses, and there's a new version of that is out, and we're trying to work on that. In addition, we're working on something called FSA Atlas, and this is a international student application that helps us track international students and make sure that we are compliant with the Homeland Security. So we have that process going, Dr. Budd. And also we have something called electronic content management that we're wrapping up. And what that is allow us the ability to scan documents in the system as opposed to all this manual labor. In other words, you see the Department of General Services, I don't know if Sadiq here is having a stack of papers walking over to financing, purchasing to get approvals. And now we can do that electronically, and they'll scan them in, and those documents are going through a workflow process. So it goes in someone's inbox so they can sign off instead of walking around, and it make us more efficient. Smart classrooms, I won't say a lot about it, but what I will tell you, I know there are some colleges that need more smart classrooms. We're gonna work on a new strategic technology plan. We're working on that now. We're gonna this time include smart classroom in that technology plan. We know we're gonna have to find some funding for that, but at least we're gonna make sure that's on the table as we continue. One thing I'm concerned about is the maintenance of the existing smart classrooms, because as with everything has an end of life, so we want to continue to do that. The network infrastructure refresh, we need to refresh all of our network equipment. You don't see the equipment, it sits in these closets, it's locked up, and you don't see that, but we have not upgraded our technology in about 10 years, so a lot of that equipment is vulnerable to attack, and it's end of life, beyond end of life, and some of it's even end of line. So we have to upgrade that technology. So we're in the process of doing that here now at the district office. Some of the colleges have already started their refresh, so that'll be going on for the next year or so, hopefully. Student financial aid, as you know, we was running on a system that developed in 1969. So our financial aid was running on a mainframe, which was 45 years old. So we have to upgrade that technology, and we're doing that now And as we speak, I hope, I don't see any IT people in here because they probably somewhere with A&R folks and financial aid folks trying to get disbursement for the students for the fall as we speak right now. So that's going well, and we have included the ambassadors to help us to train students when this module finally gets rolled out, and we expect that to happen right away. They've already done some of the training, and we're happy that BCC spearheaded took the lead on helping the ambassadors throughout the district get trained. So it's a train-the-trainer approach. We'll train them how to use the new module in financial aid, and then they will train the students on how to use it. And I understand they have experience in this in the past, so that all worked out well. And then web-based email will be coming later. You'll be able to use, the choice was Google, and we'll be implementing that. We're gonna have to send that out to RFP because it was so complex. We want to be able to maintain your existing mail in your inbox already, and then so we can migrate that over. So that's going to be a difficult task, but we're planning for that also. And some of the future projects we have to do, we have to upgrade our finance module. And you might not know what this means, but I don't think you missed a paycheck since you've been here. So we want to make sure that's continue and to happen. So we got to upgrade our finance. And all this will be in the new technology strategic plan. And also HCM database split. What that means is the human capital management, basically HR and the students' database are one database, and we have to split that off. You might not understand that, but what will happen is, why it's going to be more efficient is if one system go down, say like the HR database go down, the student system is still functioning. So registration and enrollment is constantly going, and we don't have to worry about the whole system being down. So we need to split those two apart. Classroom scheduling. This is a project that we want to get off right away, so help with some of this curriculum planning to be able to schedule classes appropriately, and we're looking forward to that. Faculty grade book. Right now, we need a way to be able to track grades, record test scores, and post grades in a more efficient manner. I was speaking with one of the analysts, functional analysts from A&R yesterday, and the way it's done now, I think everyone send their grades in a different format, and then they have to take those and massage them into one format. So we want to make their life more easier by, and everyone's life more easier by having a consistent faculty grade book module that we can streamline to make it easier for everyone, faculty and staff. VoIP communication, you might not know what that means. That's voice over internet protocol, basically your phone system. Now that we're no longer in the analog age, we're in a digital age. We have to upgrade our phone systems because all the new buildings that are coming up now, we want to bring them up with the newer, more modern technologies like VoIP or voice communication. So your phone is basically a computer at this point. It's on our network, and it's more efficient. You can do so many features. You can even operate your phone from your desktop and also your mobile device. Early alert. We want to be able to do some early alert for our students and in the classroom. So if a student is falling behind, or if the student you discover that a student needs special attention like EOP&S or DP&S, well, you know what I mean, DSPS, we can make sure that we can catch that early. We can send them over to those departments so they can get some special needs. And so I know when we had manual, when I was a faculty member, we had it manually, and we had to check the box, but oftentimes we check the box, nothing happens, so that student we could potentially lose that student because they don't know where to go to get help that they need to maintain. There's a lot more I can say, but I won't. I'm gonna close it out. Prompt versus, I think we had prompt versus passport. I think I explained a little bit about that. Everyone called it passport, but actually students use passport and the faculty use something called prompt. And prompt is Peralta Real-Time Online Management Technology. That's what it stands for. So I know when you say real time, I know that was way back, because when they say real time, that's some technology we don't usually say anymore. But anyway, we're going to upgrade that too. We may even change the name and come up with a universal portal where you access one portal. So we hope that passport and prompt goes away and you have this one universal portal, and that's something that the District Technology Committee have asked for, and we hear you, and we're going to try to improve that technology in that area. Access and log on information, we're going to streamline some of that. So if you come in as a dean, there's no use of going through a lot of paperwork because you're already a dean. Our system should be at a place or at the intake process. So when you go to HR, if we hire you as a dean, or we hire you as a vice president, or we hire you as a classified, you would get classified authorization on the spot. It trickles down and triggers IT. Right now, it's a kind of arduous process where you have to go through some paperwork, and then you're trying to find out, hey, did they complete the paperwork? We streamline that process at a bit, but we're gonna automate that so we can make the intake process a lot easier when new faculty come on board. Also, the Faculty Center, we talked a little bit about rosters. I don't have a lot of time. I think some other presentations about that gets down into the specifics of rosters, grades and attendance, all those rosters, and also how to communicate with students. I know there are some trouble tickets right now. You want to be able to attach a file when you send out an email to a student. That is called the big C word, we call it in IT. That's customization, and customization is kind of complex and it's hard to maintain, but we hear you. We have a trouble ticket on that. And also I want to tell you about some useful technology. Some of the useful technology I don't know you are using, but you can use Google even now, but you can't use it as a domain from Peralta. You have to use your own Google Docs. There's something called Dropbox you can use to store a lot of your information on the cloud. And there's something else called CCC Confer. I don't know if many people use that. Anyone use that here? CCC Confer, I heard that now that you can be able to teach through CCC Confer, and now you can use a mobile device to be able to access, or the student can access the CCC Confer through a mobile device. And so those are some of the new, useful technology that you can use. I'm running late, but let's go to the next. This is the help desk escalation. And before I go any further, I would like to have a trainer at the district office to be able to train technology and have a calendar of events of training, ongoing training as we go out throughout the year. I also would want like a beachfront property in Malibu. So that's going to take a little while longer to get that implemented. But the help desk process, the way it works, user encounter issue, the user reports the issues to college IT, and college IT troubleshoots the issues. College IT is working with us if it's a technology issue, and they're trying to distinguish between a technology issue or just a functional issue on the campus and they can't handle. Then under step 4, college IT works with district to resolve the issue. Is resolved, and the user is notified of the resolution. I kind of ran through that really fast, but if you notice that I have all the representatives on the college IT and along with my staff here at the district office, and I have their phone numbers, and I'm sure if they're in here, they're trying to duck and hide now. But we want to be transparent on being able to be reachable and being able to serve your needs as appropriate as you teach junior in class. My time is up. I thank you for yours.
Mr. Powell. Just Kevin. Kevin, all right.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say I've admired you for quite some time.
Thank you.
First time I saw you was on BET back in the 90s. And you, Cortland, Malloy, Ed Gordon, I admired all of you all.
Thank you.
Because I love what you said and the way you said it, all three of you all. But I have a question for you. What do you think is the answer to situations like Ferguson, Missouri? That's basically what I wanted to ask you. What's the answer to that so that it doesn't happen again?
We have to organize. I mean, I'm not saying anything the elders didn't teach me when I was coming up as a young activist. We have to organize. And this is not glamorous. You know, once the cameras are going from Ferguson or Trayvon Martin or Oscar Grant, who are the people that are actually committed to making real change happen on this planet? You know, oftentimes it'll be a handful of people. I'll give you an example. Last year when the Trayvon Martin verdict came down, remember how we all came out in different parts of the country? New York, we had a march, probably 10,000 people. We took over Times Square, and some folks was just angry. They're like, let's keep marching to Harlem. So we said, okay, we're going to keep marching to Harlem. We got to Harlem and said, let's keep going to the Bronx. So some folks kept going to the Bronx. Now, I want to put this in context. We started at 12 o'clock that day. By the time they got to the Bronx, it was 1 a.m. in the morning. Then we said, okay, we need to have follow-up meetings so we can organize. guess what? Most of the folks never showed up for those follow-up meetings. And then most of the folks who showed up, as I said in my speech, were women. That's part of the problem right there. People don't understand that this is not some sort of sprint. This is actually, to use the word, a marathon, and we got to be committed to this. This is about our life. You know, when we talk about values, do you really believe that you are on this planet? Alice Walker, who's lived in this area for some time, you know, what is the rent, the debt that you're paying for taking up space on this earth? It should be to give back to whatever community that you're part of. And how do you give back? You got to organize. You got to do something. That's why I asked the brother back there from Detroit, you know, what do you belong to? And he said, I belong to an LGBTQ organization. So am I right? You are organizing. Am I right? And that's what I'm talking about. So what are you doing? I say this to black men out there, if you don't mentor a younger black male, that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? On a consistent basis, there's so many organizations that me and Losana belong to a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. I said to fraternity brothers out there, if you in a fraternity and y'all talk all this stuff about community, but y'all ain't actually organizing the community, you are part of the problem. You know what I mean? I'm just saying show up. Like, folks like myself and Losana, and this is not to brag, we humble cats, but like, I know he's tired, I'm tired. It seems like we mentor so many young people in our communities where we live that all over the country, because a lot of times, a lot of younger brothers say, I don't have anybody else to call. Am I right, Losana? And so just make yourself accessible. If you live in the Bay Area, do what I do. I call a local school in New York every week, or at least once a month, and say, can I come to your school just to speak? Why is that important? When I grew up, I had no black male teachers. Not one. I had coaches, you know, that was it. And imagine some of these young kids, young brothers see a black male walking through the doors and want, I don't care if you're a janitor, a plumber, because what did Dr. King say? There's dignity in every job. You work, you know what I'm saying? But just for them to see you could make it have such an impact. So that's a way of organizing, just showing up in your community on a regular basis. And you don't have to have children of your own, because I think, you know, Dr. Trotter alluded to it. These are all our children. I don't have any biological children, but I see anyone younger than me, young enough to be my child, like I got a responsibility here. And so let's show up and let's organize, and let's not continue to see the women in our communities doing so much of the work. And I don't mean to come down hard on brothers, but this should not be acceptable. You know what I mean? This should not be acceptable to us that we only show up for certain things. It shouldn't be acceptable that we have to have food at this program to encourage people to come to the program. You know what I mean? It's like we have to kind of put bait out there. We should want to come because it's in our value system and our core that we have a community gathering. We have Dr. Trotter and Brother Hotep and Brother Steele, these folks putting this together. And I know for a fact that educators don't make a lot of money, so they're doing this because they love us. They believe in us. And so the least we could do is show up. You know what I'm saying? And I know activists don't make no money because I ain't got no benefits. Why not?
I'm Mr. Cloud. My name is
Kevin. I'm just Kevin.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate it, though.
They have an organization here, which is the BSU.
Yes, ma'am.
They have some officers in line, but they are not approachable. I've tried.
You just said that publicly.
Right. Yes, because you have to be approachable. So what I've done is I went out and invited different people to come to the meeting, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, at 1, between 1 and 2, in room R124, next to Union. So once because they're not approachable, I don't want to back down or back out from the program. So what I'm doing is trying to show myself friendly and invite people out to come out so that they can have their opinion. But once we do that, how will we go about organizing? Because the person who's the leader may, feel like, well, if I didn't invite him or I didn't say anything, because we have to come together as a unity in order for something to happen. So everyone that's here, I've asked as far as the different clubs, if they can come out and just show their presence to let them know that BSU is not the only club here, that there's other clubs and we can work together to make it happen.
Wow. What's your name?
Anita,
Anita, what's up?
how you doing?
Chilling. That's called shorthand. I love your spirit, but you just put it on blast. You kept it 100. Let me say two things. One, I'm so glad you brought up leadership. In my opinion, a leader, if I can give out my own definition, I think you all should develop your own definition. A leader, number one, she or he, because we're equals, right? She or he changes the direction of the conversation, creates a new vocabulary. If you're a leader, you got to do that on a consistent basis. Change the direction of the conversation, create a new vocabulary. For example, I cringe when someone refers to me as a minority. I'm like, no, I'm a person of color, I'm an African person, not a minority. Well, why would you say that? I said, well, I understand the word minority came out in the 1960s, and it's a term that the government created to identify certain groups of people, but unfortunately that word has come to mean inferiority, and I know I ain't inferior to nobody. Change the direction of conversation. Another way, don't just call marches and rallies, but as I said to the brother, and we talked back there, you also have to organize, like, what's your plan of action? What are we gonna do? Can y'all say action steps? So if you have a leader who only wants to keep calling marches and rallies, but there's no action steps, go find another leader or you become that leader yourself. Number two, if you call yourself a leader, you build organizations, institutions, businesses, or you join ones that actually support the community that you claim to be representing. That's important. Some of us use these institutions, organizations, and businesses as our own personal cowardice. Ain't got nothing to do with the community. You know what I mean? I saw that in Ferguson, I saw that in Brooklyn, New York all the time. I know y'all don't do that in Oakland, but in other places they do that. You know what I'm saying? You're slide number three. If you say you're a leader, you gotta be accessible to who you claim to be representing. My telephone number is 718-399-8149. I give it out all over the country. I got cards, 718-399-8149. Emails Kevin@kevinpowell.net. My Twitter is Kevin_Powell. People are like, do you really respond? Well, who else is gonna respond if I don't respond? You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't on no big pedestal. I'm just Kevin. I ain't Mr. Powell. I'm just Kevin. You know what I mean? I just care. And then number four, I think if you're a leader, Audre Lorde said it best, do the work. Just do the work. And then number five, if you're really a leader, in my opinion, you don't walk around calling yourself a leader. You just don't do it. You just, hey, I'm here to help. You know what I'm saying? But the other part of it, y'all take over the organization. Vote people out of office.
We're going to take two questions. We're going to take one from the young lady here and Mike back there. Then we're going to move Kevin over to the table to sign, take pictures, and then you might be able to ask him some one-on-one questions, but we're going to have to break at that point and then serve food, and then it could just become like a community gathering at that point. But two questions, one from the sister here and then one from Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Kiona, and sorry, I had to write my question down. So I have two sons who are 9 and 7, and my 9-year-old is in the 4th grade and is being taught basically, you know, the half-truths of our country and things like that. And we have conversations all the time. You know, I'm in college, I'm learning, you know, about my history, and when I talk to them, they're still kind of confused. And my question basically is, you know, they're confused only because, you know, they're being taught one thing and then I'm telling them another. And I want to provide them with more resources, more, you know, books, more websites, more anything that, you know, it's not just mommy telling them this, you know, because they're only learning the half truth, but I want them to know the whole truth before they get to college or, you know, things like that.
Let me say this, like, education is deep in this country. I think I went to the so-called best public schools in Jersey City where I was born and raised. My mama fought hard for me to go to quality public schools. In the years K through 12, which is 13 years, right? K through 12 is 13 years. I think black history might have been 2 pages in total in those 13 years.